恭请大德圣听，为此法会，集结众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死。离苦得乐，殊真无生。Well, the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death and quickly realize number.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo Saranto Suchetoye Alahati Sanmiao Sanputo Che. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Namo, quelling disasters, lending life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one. 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 Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, and all good knowing advisors, Amitofo, welcome back. We are on Sutra lecture number 201. And today, we're going to do something different. We're still on topic, but we today's lecture is on just one person. On eight, hold on. Why am I on this slide? I'm sorry. Let me go back to here. Okay. Sorry, long slide. Where is it? Okay, here. Yes, we are still continuing on the Buddha known as the teacher of gods and men or human. That's one of the Buddha's titles. We are continuing from, did we have a lecture last week? We did, right? Yeah, we're continuing from last week. And today we're going to look at how the Buddha taught someone by the name of Cudapanthaka. Who is he? Sometimes his name is spelled as Cula, so Cudapanthaka. He's the younger brother of Mahapanthaka. And if you've heard Shufu explain this story before, at DRBA, BTTS, we translate his name as Little Roadside. Why? Because he was born by the side of the road. And he's little because his elder brother is Mahapantaka. He is known as Elder Roadside. Why? Because he too was born by the roadside. And so today I've been very happy. And at first I thought it had all to do with the lecture because I found some things about this story that I've not found before, not discovered before. And then a few things happened today. And so I realized why, part of why I was so happy is that today I started a new class, which is the investigating Pure Land practice, okay, through the lens of the Noble Eightfold Path. I'm not sure if it's ever been done before. I don't think so. And the reason why I'm starting this discussion-based class is because throughout the years, I have found both in myself and in others that there are a lot of questions about Pure Land. I wouldn't call them sometimes it's misconceptions. People think the Pure Land is like this or Pure Land, or they assume. Yeah, they have assumptions of Pure Land is a certain way, but they're not quite sure if it's reflected in the text or not. So this class, why you all haven't heard about it, is because it's an in-person class. It's a physical class. Like today, it wasn't. There weren't any facilities to do it over Zoom, but we can see if there is good response, and we'll be exploring the three major Pure Land sutras. Some say there are five. Actually, there are more. As well as there are so many commentaries about the Pure Land, and our aim is to go through all of them and to collate all the information, and hopefully in a few years' time, once we finish this study, to come up with a book that can hopefully help future practitioners understand what is the Pure Land. All right, so that's why I'm so happy today. Okay, now let's look at Cudapanthaka. And why are we looking at him? Well, because he represents the opposite of being smart. I wouldn't say stupid, but of low intellect. Because the text don't really say he's stupid, but they say that he's a dullard. That means he finds it very hard to memorize the teachings. And I always had Shufu's version of the story. But then I found other versions as well. So I kind of combined them into, well, not the definitive version, but yeah. Anyway, so this version starts with the Dhammapada verse number 25. And the parts of the verse will be explained towards the end, okay? And I'm sharing this because it shows how the Buddha taught even someone like Cudapanthaka, whose own brother had dismissed him. His own brother had given up on him. Yeah, the reason why he left home was because of his elder brother. Elder brother had left home earlier, became an Arhat. Then he realized that his younger brother should also experience the bliss of meditation and Arhatship. So he got his younger brother to ordain as well. But then after a while, he realized, oh, my younger brother is too dumb. He can't even memorize a single verse of the Dharma. So he chased his younger brother out. Some people say that he did it as a skillful means to put the younger brother under pressure so that he would perform. And because his elder brother was an Arhat at the time, we can safely say that whatever method that the elder brother employed There was no maliciousness, there was no anger in it at all. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's start. Okay. So the Buddha, this comes from the Buddha himself, and he was at the bamboo grove, and it is all about the elder Cudapanthaka. Why elder? Because at that time he was already an Arhat. Okay, spoiler alert, he was already an Arhat. Oh, yes, he is so accomplished as an Arhat. Okay, so before he became an Arhat, he was the worst, the most dim-witted of all the monks. Okay, but then he became an Arhat, and the Buddha, he is known as one of the 16 Arhats or the 18 Arhats. Sometimes it's 16, sometimes it's 18. Who are these 18 Arhats? When you go to a Chinese Mahayana temple, you will see them. A lot of our branch temples also have them. If you come to Tempian, they're high up on the walls, on the side walls. If you go to GCDR, they are in they're on a footpath. Same if you go to Snow Mountain, where Dharma Master Lai is, which I'm going to see next month. I'm going to see him next month. They also have a trail of the 18 Arhats. And so the 18 Arhats, in case you didn't know, have been entrusted by the Buddha to be guardians of the Dharma until the time of Maitreya Buddha. So that's the 18 Arhats. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, so the story starts with his mom. This was before he was born. And the mom was closely guarded by her parents. And why? Well, I think your parents know their children very well. And because the mom had a certain disposition, and despite being guarded very closely by her parents, she was actually locked up in the, let me see, I think on the 7th floor. Yeah, she came from she's from a rich family. So the house is huge, 7 floors at least. And she was on the, I think 7 floors, yeah, on the upper story. So like a princess in a castle. But she still did manage to have an affair with a slave. And then basically what happened was they eloped, because the parents coming from a well-to-do family would never accept their daughter falling in love with a slave. Like even now, in modern times, in certain countries, you can lose your life if you fall in love with the wrong person, and you lose your life at the hands of your own family. Really terrible. Okay, anyway, so she and the slave decided to elope. Okay, now after that, they found a place to stay, and then she got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, she wanted to go home, but her husband was scared to death of seeing their parents. Because why? Well, imagine if family members can how you say, can face certain consequences, when a daughter can face certain consequences from from her own family, what more a slave, right? Someone who does not command any respect at all from people. So he didn't want to go take her back to her parents' house. So he kept on postponing. He said, okay, we'll go tomorrow. We go. Then when tomorrow comes, he said, okay, we'll go tomorrow. Until she got fed up. He said, this husband of mine, he's never going to take me. So she decided to go by herself. And that's what she did. And then one day the husband came home and found that, oh, my wife is missing. He asked his neighbors, and the neighbor said, oh, your wife has left for her home, for her parents' home. So he raced along the road to look for her, and he found her. But when he found her, she was giving birth, and she gave birth on the road. So they decided, well, since you give birth, there's no point in looking for trouble by going home to your parents' house. So they turned back. Okay. And this child was named Pantaka. Okay, no Maha or Juda yet before the name. This is just Pantaka. So this is the firstborn. Then after a while, she got pregnant again. And the same thing happened. She wanted, when it was time for her to deliver the baby, she didn't learn her lesson to go back earlier. So when it was time, she wanted to go back. And again, the husband was scared, and the husband refused or gave excuses. So she waited at the last minute. She couldn't wait anymore. She went by herself. And again, she gave birth by the side of the road. So this second son was named Cudapanthaka. And so the firstborn was now given Maha in front of Pantaka. So Pantaka means roadside. So Pantaka, the firstborn, became Maha Pantaka, elder roadside. Yeah. Like how like my mom has a twin sister. And so my mom is the elder by, I don't know, seconds or minutes. Anyway, they call my mom Tuachi, which means elder. Chi is sister. And my mom's younger twin sister is called Sehan, which is small one. So big and small. Okay. Anyway, so one day the elder boy, after hearing the children he was playing with, the children always had grandparents. Always talking about their grandparents. So he asked the mother, say, "How come, other children have grandparents, but we don't have any? I don't have any grandparents." So the mother said, "Oh, you actually do, but they don't live here. They live in the city. And your grandfather is actually a rich banker." But she didn't tell her the whole. She didn't tell the children the whole story. The son the whole story, which is your father was a slave, and I and I eloped with your father, and if you go back, you might get killed. She didn't tell him that. Yeah. So the husband and wife talked about it. Say, "Oh, children should to get to know their grandparents." Oh, let me see. My slide formatting isn't done very well. Sorry about that. Yeah. So they agreed that, their children should get to know their grandparents. So they decided to take their children back. But the father was still very afraid of her parents. And he said, "Okay, I'll take you all back, but I'm not going to meet them." Well, little did he know that he wouldn't, even if he wanted to, he wouldn't get a chance. Why? Because it turns out that the grandparents, the girls, the mother's parents couldn't forgive. So it has been a number of years, maybe 3 to 5 years, I think, at least. But the parents could not forgive their daughter. Yeah, so they didn't want the daughter or the husband to be around. But I guess they still cared for her. So they accepted their grandchildren, and they gave, I guess, enough money so that their daughter could have a somewhat comfortable life. Yeah. So it turns out that the grandfather, so now with the grandchildren living with them, the grandfather would always go and listen to the Dharma from the Buddha. And the elder brother Mahapantaka was old enough, so he would go along with the grandfather. But the younger brother Chulapantaka or Chudapantaka was too young, so he didn't go to listen to the Dharma. So after a while, Mahapantaka felt that he wanted to be a monk. Maybe he felt inspired, or Dharma made sense to him. So he asked his grandfather for permission, and the grandfather agreed. So the grandfather took him to the Buddha, and the Buddha accepted and asked one of the monks, says, "This monk who practiced the vow of living on alms food." Usually when they say this, so the language there, it says obtained by begging. Actually, it's not begging. Okay, proper alms, when you see a monk going on alms round, they don't beg. Begging means asking. What monks do on alms round is they go to certain places, like this, the first 7 homes that they encounter along the way, and they just stand there. They might ring. In ancient times, they would carry a staff with a bell, something like the Tijang Putat, Earthstop Bodhisattva, that kind of stuff, a ring stuff, and they would hit it on the ground to shake, to create the ringing sound. And after a while, if no one comes out, they go to the second house. Then they go to the third house, fourth house. By the time they reach the seventh house, if they don't receive any alms, then they leave. Then they go back to the temple, which means that they have to wait until the next day to go on alms round again. Yeah. So alms round is very different from begging. Alms round is the giving lay people the opportunity to plant blessings. Okay, so when you see in a text, it says someone who practiced the vow of living on alms food is usually a monk that has taken the optional Dutanga practices, which also means you sleep sitting up, you sleep under a tree, your robes are made from discarded cloth, usually from the cemetery. These are optional. You eat one meal a day. Yeah. So anyway, Mahapantaka was taught meditation, and when he became 18 years old, he took the full ordination. He took the precepts of a bhikshu, and after a while, he became an arhat. Yeah, and that's when he had the thought that his younger brother too should experience the bliss of meditation and the bliss of arhatship, going beyond all suffering and going beyond birth and death. So he went to his grandfather and he asked his grandfather for permission to take his younger brother so that his younger brother can be ordained. And the grandfather agreed. So it's very funny. The grandfather who did not want his daughter to come back, I guess maybe to safeguard their reputation, he always felt ashamed to explain to people that his grandchildren were the sons of their daughter who married a slave. So he was kind of glad not to have to endure that anymore. So he was happy that his second grandchild would be ordained. Yeah. So it became empty nesters again. Anyway, so that's what happened. And then after ordained, then the monks found out that, Cudapanthaka is actually very slow, both in his progress and in his learning. So the brother Mahapantaka Venerable Mahapantaka taught the younger brother this verse that you see. It says, "Behold the Buddha in resplendent glory, like the fragrant red lotus blossoming in the morning and the shining sun in the sky." That was the verse. In Shufu's story, Shufu version, he says swiftly, and that comes later. Sorry, that comes later. This one is when his own brother was trying to teach him. So why? Why is Cudapanthaka so slow, so dim-witted? Well, because of something he did in his past life. That he is now, how you say, there are some principles to this story, which is why I'm sharing with you all, which is how our careless past actions can come back to hinder our progress on the path, and why listening to the Dharma is very, very important. Okay, keep your eyes up, keep your ears out for the second one. All right. And also, there's another principle. Later, I'll ask you all when I'm done with the story about why do you think I'm sharing the story of Cudapanthaka with you all. Okay, so what happened in the past? During the time of Kashyapa Buddha, Cudapanthaka was also a monk, and he was smart. He had very sharp intelligence, and he was probably a bit proud of himself because why? He made fun of another monk who was slow. That's what he did. And because he made fun of that monk, that monk became so embarrassed that he stopped learning or repeating his lessons. Imagine that you cut off someone's ties with the Dharma because you make fun. I think he was like a bully. Yeah. So if you think you're smart, be careful. All right. Because what goes around comes around. Okay. So as a result of that, in this lifetime, in front of Shakyamuni Buddha, he was born a dullard himself. So that's his retribution. So whatever he learned, that four-line verse that he learned, he will forget as soon as he had reached the end. After 4 months, he still could not memorize that single verse. Yeah. All right. So when we encounter people oh, this is the principle. Okay, now I'll just share the principle. When we encounter people, we tend to judge people based on who they are right now. And that's because we lack understanding of karma. We lack understanding of the causes and effects and that has caused people to be who they are right now. So sometimes we can react with anger, with intolerance, with lack of patience, with lack of care, no love, because we look down on people. But the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, they don't do that. They don't judge you for who you are because they can see exactly what happened. All right. So, okay. Now, his elder brother, Venerable Mahapantaka, said to, he said, Pantaka, you are not worthy of remaining in this order. You have not been able to master even a verse in 4 months. How would you bring to maturity your life as a monk? So he told his brother he should leave the monastery. Okay, like I said, at this stage, Venerable Mahapantaka was already an Arhat. Okay, which means you can rule out any malicious thoughts, any thoughts of anger, any thoughts of impatience, any impure thoughts, you can rule it out, which means that he did it as a skillful means, okay, as a way to put pressure on the younger brother so that he would be able to apply more effort. Okay, so it is said Cudapanthaka, because he really loved the Buddha and the teaching, the Dharma, he never, in his heart, he was more happy being a monk than being a lay person. Yeah. So, but now he was being forced to leave the monastic order. And at the same time, his elder brother was in charge of assigning monks to meal invitations because people will come and invite the Buddha out for food. And sometimes they will be unable to accommodate all the monks. But the person in charge was Mahapantaka. He would select certain monks, make sure every monk gets their turn, or when in this case is all the monks, he would tell them, okay, tomorrow there'll be a meal offering, gather here by this time and we shall go. That was his job, that was his duty. So it turned out, why is that fact being shared? It's because there was a person named Jiwaka, the foster child of a prince, meaning he had you say not a normal person. So we can assume that he's a well-off person. So he went to the Buddha, he made offerings to the Buddha of flowers and things that smell nice, scents, maybe perfume and things like that. Listened to the Dharma, and then he offered the invitation for the next day's meal to Mahapantaka. And he asked Venerable Mahapantaka, I said, how many monks are living with the Buddha? So Mahapantaka said, about 500. And he said, okay, tomorrow, please bring all the monks to my house and I shall provide them with alms. Then Venerable Mahapantaka said, okay. He said, I accept your invitation except one of the monks, which is his elder brother, Cudapanthaka. He said he's dull, unprogressive in the Dharma. So I accept your invitation on behalf of all the monks except him. So he's not part of the invitation. So poor Cudapanthaka heard this and he said, oh, my elder brother has left me out. So he's really disappointed in me. So he decided to leave. The brother wanted to chase him out. So I said, okay, I go back to lay life. Well, at least I can still practice generosity and doing other deeds to gain merit. So that's what he did. Early morning, he left. He left the monastery. And the Buddha knew this. Okay, every day, he said in the morning when the Buddha wakes up, the Buddha would survey the whole world and find out, okay, who can I help today? Who is right? Who has little dust in their eyes. So he already knew what was going on in Cudapanthaka's mind. And so he made sure that he was where Cudapanthaka would pass by. Okay, and when Cudapanthaka saw the Buddha, he bowed to the Buddha, and then the Buddha asked him, "Oh, where are you going right now? It's so early in the morning." So Cudapanthaka maybe complained, I don't know, or he says, "Oh, my brother has driven me away, so I have to leave the order." So he says, "I'm neither a monk nor a layman. I'm just an idiot. I'm just a great fool." Yeah. So the Buddha was, see how the Buddha replied. The Buddha said, "Oh, there is no fool but the one who thinks he is smart." Where does this come from? Well, one clue is the seven blind men and the elephant. There's a sutra the Buddha gives an example. It says there's a king who has nothing better to do and he wants some entertainment. So he takes seven blind men and it brings them to an elephant. And so these seven blind men, each one touched the elephant at different places. And he asked the blind man, the king said, "Okay, you, the first one, can you describe what's an elephant?" So the person who touched the trunk say, "Oh, it's like a, I don't know, like a snake." The person who touched the body of the elephant say it's like a wall. The person who touched the tail say that it's like a rope or snake. Then the person who touched the leg say it's like a tree trunk. And then they all start arguing. Yeah, why? Because they are right. Each of them in touching the elephant are right, but they're not fully right. Yeah, they're not. They're just partially right. But because they get attached to their views, they start to argue. Why? Because they think the other person is wrong. Yeah. So anyway, what I said, there is no fool but the one who thinks he is smart. Because the more you learn of anything, you soon quickly realize that the more you realize you don't know. Yeah, it is. There's something called what the Dunning-Kruger effect. And when people think they're very smart, but it's only because they have a very superficial understanding and they think that's it. So they think they understand the subject without going, because they don't know there's a lot more. Yeah, I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Anyway, you can see this a lot in politics. Okay, so the Buddha is very nice to Cudapanthaka. He said, "Cudapanthaka, your admission is my concern. When you were driven out by your brother, why did you not come to me?" He says, "What good can there be for you to turn back to household life?" And guess what? The Buddha invites Cudapanthaka to stay with him. Isn't that very reassuring? Right? Yeah, that's the Buddha. Okay. So then the Buddha struck him on the head. And you can imagine Cudapanthaka, who was so, how you say, felt that he had to, being a monk was the only thing he wanted to do. And his own brother had chased him out. And how would he have felt? Right? You picture that in your mind. And then here comes the Buddha, comforts him. So, no, you come and stay with me. And then he starts stroking Cudapanthaka on his head. Yeah. So the Buddha starts to gives a piece of cloth, a clean piece of cloth, which he manifested through his spiritual powers. And he told Cudapanthaka, he says, "You stay here facing the east, and you rub this piece of cloth. And as you rub this piece of cloth, you repeat the words in Pali. It is Rajoharanam, Rajohanara. It means taking on the impurity, taking on the impurity." Now, some versions of this story, which makes more sense, the Buddha was the one, after the Buddha calmed Cudapanthaka down, he rubbed his head, he took this piece of cloth and he was probably wiping away his tears and cleaning Cudapanthaka's face. And then it was time for lunch by then. So the Buddha said, "I have to go for lunch, but you stay here, you face the east." I'm not sure what the thing about facing the east. If anyone knows, please share what's the significance of that. And the Buddha said, I have to go, but you continue cleaning your face. And as you clean your face, you just remember the words, taking on the impurity or cleaning away the defilements. Okay. So Shifu's version of this story is sweep clean. Okay, sweep clean. Doesn't matter why there are differences. It's the principle that that is important. Okay. So then the Buddha, it was time for lunch, and then the Buddha went with all the monks, leaving poor Cudapanthaka all by himself in the monastery. Oh, okay. East means looking at the sun. So it was still in the morning. So Cudapanthaka sat on looking at the sun. And then he kept on rubbing the piece of cloth probably on his face. And he kept on repeating the verse, the two words. Actually, it's one word. Rajo Haranam. And then he realized that the cloth was becoming dirty. And then his next thought was that he said, at first the cloth was clean, but because of me wiping my face, its form has changed and now it has become dirty. And the mind came up with the next thought is that, say, all constituted things. What are constituted things? All conditioned phenomena. Anything in samsara, our bodies, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the world in us, the world outside of us, every single thing is conditioned phenomena. All right. So he says all conditioned phenomena is impermanent. So he fixed his mind on the decay and destruction, and he was basically was trying to meditate. Yeah. So the Buddha, where is the Buddha now? The Buddha is in the place where they were receiving alms. He was sitting at the cushion, but he knew what was going on in Cudapanthaka's mind. So the Buddha appeared in two places at one time, and he appeared in front of Cudapanthaka to teach him. He said, do not be impressed by the thought that the piece of cloth alone is soiled and made dirty by the dust. Okay, it says it's not just the cloth. Don't think it's only the cloth that is dirty, because in you, all right, you also have passion, the dust of passion, and you have to, that's what you actually have to clean. So not external conditioned phenomena, but look within yourself. So the Buddha gave him recited verses. The Buddha said, raga is termed as raja. It does not mean dust, it means passion. So the Buddha is explaining to him, it says, if you abandon passion, then you abide in the teachings of the one who is free from passion. And then it says, dosa does not mean dust, it means hatred. So abandon hatred. And then the next verse is delusion. So what is this? The three poisons, right? So let me go back to the slide before. Passion is desire, hatred or anger, and number three, ignorance, the three poisons. So that's what the Buddha says. In you, you are dirty with the three poisons. So that's what you have to clean. So his mind, Cudapanthaka was in meditation and his mind was ready. The Buddha knew exactly what he was doing. The Buddha was activating his past, Cudapanthaka's past karmic seeds at the right time. So what happened? Cudapanthaka gained insight into the impermanence of all conditioned phenomena. On the spot, he became an Arhat. And he obtained the four analytical knowledges and knowledge of the entire Tripitaka. This is like the six Petra. Six Petra couldn't read, but he could explain the sutra. He couldn't read. You show him the sutra, he said, you read it for me. And then he can explain it to you. But so he had knowledge of the entire Tripitaka. Okay, what are the four analytical knowledges? Well, number one is that you understand cause and effect fully. You understand the relationships between things. You understand why this thing happened, that thing happened. Why? Because you can see the cause and effect behind everything. So all phenomena you understand. Number two, you understand the meaning. When, say, if the Buddha were to speak a sutra, he would be able to not just explain, but expand on the Buddha's teachings. in a way that the audience can understand. All right. Number 3 has to do with language. He developed the ability to understand all languages. So he could understand what the gods were saying. He could understand what animals were saying. He could understand all the different the language of all the different spiritual beings, like the Garuda or the Peng bird, the Asuras, the dragons, uh, the language of and I already say animals, of insects, everything he could understand. And number 4 was eloquence. He was able to inspire and offer explanations with his words. Yeah, so he transformed. Yeah, before when he was looked down on the monks, but now he transformed, and the Buddha still had a plan to help him. Okay, now how come the Buddha came up with the idea of the cloth? All right, this is why listening to the Dharma, pondering over the Dharma, thinking about the Dharma is very, very important. Okay, so the Buddha could see, and what the Buddha saw was this. It says that in one of his past lives, Cudapanthaka was a king and was moving around the city. So this cause and effect, just like how he made fun of the monk who was slow, and the result is in this life he was slow himself. Well, in this life he was a king, and he was sweat on his forehead, and he mopped up the sweat with a clean piece of cloth, probably like a handkerchief, and then the cloth became dirty. So he thought to himself, this king says, the piece of cloth, though clean, has changed its nature and has transformed, because this body of mine, because the body was dirty, he wiped, and the dirt transferred to the handkerchief. And that made him think about impermanence. He said, oh, unstable indeed are constituted or conditioned things. And that was the seed, that very thought of him as a king in many lifetimes before became the supporting factor for the Buddha to use. The Buddha said, in the past life, he had this thought. So there's this karmic seed in him. So the Buddha created the conditions for that karmic seed to arise. So the Buddha replicated the conditions by giving him the cloth. Did Cudapanthaka know any of this? No, he did not. But the Buddha knew. And that's why people want to be born during the Buddha's time. Why? Because if you're born during the Buddha's time and you have cultivated properly, the Buddha knows exactly what to do, what to say, how to say it, the time to say it, in order to maximize the potential in you. Okay. This is why every day I try to share a sutra for all of you. And I'm always encouraging you all, when you read the sutra, think about the sutra, ponder the sutra. Don't just 1 year in, 1 year out, and 10 minutes later you forget. When I ask you, what was it? And you have no memory. You have to make the sutra come alive. Okay, you never know how useful it can be. All right. Now, so at the meal offering now, Jivaka is the name of the person who invited them. His name, what? Jivaka Komara Bacha. Okay. Somehow or other, when I see his name, I see the word kombucha. Okay. Anyway, Jivaka, okay, was bringing libation water. I think that's to wash your hands before you eat. But the Buddha refused. He asked Jivaka, he said, are there no monks staying back at the monastery? That means, did we miss someone? Is everyone here? And then he said, has not Lord Mahapantaka stated that there were no monks left at the monastery? Then the Buddha said, no, there is, Jivaka. So Jivaka sent a man to go and fetch whoever was left behind at the monastery. He said, go and bring whoever is left behind for lunch. So Cudapanthaka, who by this time was already an Arhat, still remembered what the brother said. The brother said, there's no one left in the monastery. He's not invited for lunch. He said, okay. You say there are no monks, I'll show you there are monks. So what did he do? Oh, he's also known as foremost in creating transformation bodies among the Arhats. Yeah, Cudapanthaka. And that's what he did. This is how he got the reputation. So he transformed into 1,000 monks. So the whole monastery was filled with monks, and they're all doing all different things. They're not like moving a mirror image of him doing exactly what he's doing. No, if you go there, you would think that they are all different, all individuals. There's some tending to the ropes, some dyeing their robes, some being engaged in their studies. Everyone doing something. So this guy, this messenger, went, saw so many monks, and then he came back. He said, the whole place is full of monks. Yeah. And so Cudapanthaka just sat there, putting on a show. So the Buddha told the man, the messenger, he said, okay, so you go to the monastery and say that the Buddha or the teacher summons the monk named Cudapanthaka. And then he says, he went and said that voices saying, I am Cudapanthaka came out of 1,000 mouths. So he asked the question, who is Cudapanthaka? And all of them replied. So he didn't know what to do. So he came back and told the Buddha, oh, they all say they're Cudapanthaka. So Buddha said, okay, well, the first monk who says he is Cudapanthaka, you go and catch the monk, grab the monk. And when you do that, the rest will disappear. And he did exactly as he was told. And true enough, the first one who said he was Cudapanthaka was the actual Cudapanthaka. So Cudapanthaka went back with the man for the alms. And then after they had eaten, the Buddha told Jivika, he said, go and take Cudapanthaka's bowl. So I think that means that when the host takes the bowl, that monk will speak Dharma. So when you invite a monastic for alms, okay, there's an exchange going on. You provide sustenance and strength to the monk and to gain merit and blessings. And then the monk will speak Dharma. It has to be like that. Okay. So when you invite a monk out, make sure you ask questions about the Dharma. Okay. That's why you take them out for food. You don't take them out for food for anything else. You want not just for blessings and merit, you want to learn the Dharma as well. Okay. Now, so because the Buddha instructed the host to do so, it gave Cudapanthaka the chance to speak Dharma. It says here it roared like a young lion. And because all the monks were there, you can bet that, when they, in the morning, when they left for food, Cudapanthaka was still Cudapanthaka. It wasn't Cudapanthaka the Elder, the Arhat. Not yet. So imagine you leave behind someone who is very slow. And after the meal, suddenly this person transforms and starts giving a lecture on the Dharma that is very, very eloquent. So all the monks Cudapanthaka became the talk of the monastery. Everyone was amazed at his transformation. And they also knew that the elder brother had chased him out. So after lunch, they all went back to the monastery. So they started talking. He says, brothers Mahapanthaka, for not understanding Cudapanthaka's intrinsic worth. That means he says the brother could not see in Mahayana, we would say that the brother could not see the younger brother's Buddha nature. Yeah. So expelled him from the monastery. But the Buddha being the Buddha, helped him attain arahantship. Yeah, within just a short time, the duration of a meal time, Cudapanthaka not only became an arhat, he understood the three baskets of the sutras, the discipline, the Vinaya, and I think Abhidhamma, the three baskets. Yeah, so they were very impressed by the Buddha. So the Buddha would as the Buddha would usually do when the monks were discussing something, the Buddha would always treat it as an opportunity to explain more. So he will come out, and always when he comes out, they will stop talking. Yeah, like I have a few discussions online. Always when I join the online group, some of you know who you are. Everyone will be so busy talking, right? Just chatting away, chat. And then the moment they see that I'm online, they all keep quiet. Yeah. So that's what happened when the Buddha came. And so the Buddha started asking them. He said, the assembly is very pleasant and everyone's very quiet, out of respect for the Buddha. And the Buddha thought to himself, say, if I were to sit there without speaking, even for the whole of my life, they would not break the silence by speaking first because they're being respectful in front of the Buddha. So he had to find a way to start the talk. So he knew he had to speak first. So he asked the monks, said, oh, what were you all talking about? What topic did I interrupt? So they explained to him, oh, you're so great. How did you manage to teach Cudapanthaka? He was such a dullard, right? So Buddha says, oh, well, not just this life, but past lives. So this is where the Buddha starts explaining the past life of Cudapanthaka. You know what? I'm going to skip. There are two past life stories of Cudapanthaka, but we only have about 8 minutes left. Let me go to the second one. Okay. All right. And then if we have time, we go to the first one. All right. I think the second one is more interesting. So anyway, you can find this in the Jataka tales, in Jataka tale number 4, called Chula Seti. Why Chula Seti? Well, that was in the Buddha. The Buddha in this in this past life of his was known as Chula Seti. Okay, so the Buddha starts off with a verse. It says, a wise and discerning man, even with a little capital, can elevate himself as one can fan a small fire into a big place. All right. So Buddha says, well, once upon a time, so Buddha, I think it was really fun to be around the Buddha because the Buddha would always find an opportunity to give a teaching or to tell stories based on his past lives. So Buddha says he was known as Chula Seti, and he was a very wise merchant. Not only was he wise, he had spiritual powers. What was his power? He could see signs. What kind of sign? Well, is on this particular day he saw a dead rat. Okay, and he knew. He just knew. He said, any intelligent man, okay, any smart man who comes across this dead rat, if he were to pick up the rat, he will be able to become a rich person just by picking up the dead rat. That was his, how to say, it's not a gut feeling. It's, I don't know. Yeah, unless I have the same, I would be able to truly explain how it's done. Maybe someone listening knows. Anyway, a poor man comes along and he hears this merchant. Yeah. And he kind of trusts. He said, this person will not say if it wasn't true. So he picked up the rat and then he went to the market, and guess what? He sold it as cat food. And for that, he received a single coin. Okay. Now you all can guess this poor man is Cudapanthaka. All right. So what did he do with that coin? From now on, the text says that he will be known as the talented pupil. Why? Because he became the pupil of the Buddha. With the coin, he brought some molasses, that means sweets, and he carried a pot of drinking water. And then he saw some flower sellers who had just picked flowers from the forest. So he gave them some molasses, something sweet for the mouth, and then he gave them a cup of clean water for them to drink. And coming back from the forest, they're probably very thirsty. So out of gratitude, they gave him a bunch of flowers to the man. So what did he do? He took the flowers and he traded it for more molasses. And then he went to a pub with the molasses and he brought a pot of drinking water. And then the flower sellers, then he gave, again, he distributed it to the flower sellers. And by this, he managed to save 8 silver coins. Yeah, I think what he did was the flowers that flower sellers gave to him, he sold them and he got 8 silver coins. All right. Now, with the 8 silver coins, it was a stormy day. He went to a garden and there were a lot of broken branches. So he started collecting the branches and he sold them for firewood. And then he sold them to a royal potter. I guess why is mentioned a royal potter. Maybe he got so that he got a better price. Anyway, he collected the firewood just like the sixth patriarch, Elder Master Hoining, who collected firewood for a living because he was very poor. And he got paid 16 coins. All right. So he had 8 coins initially from the flowers. Now, plus this 16 coins, he said he knows he has 24 coins. So he thought to himself, I have some good means of obtaining money by making myself a water donor to the grass cutters. Having thought thus, he set up a water jar at a place neither too near nor too far from the city gate. So, in other words, very strategic location. Okay. They say sometimes in business it's all location, location, location. So that's what he did. And he knew, he was smart. He didn't charge people for the water. He gave it free. He gave free water to the 500 grass cutters who came from outside the city. Okay. Why did he do that? Well, the grass cutters, out of gratitude, said, "Oh, what can we do in return for you?" So he said, "This reminds me of the Godfather movie, an offer you can't refuse." He said, "Anyway," he says, "when an occasion arises, I will come and ask you to return the favor." So he says, so he had a plan. After he had this, he started looking for opportunities. So what did he do? He made friends with the official of highways and the official of waterways. That means the people who took care of the roads and the rivers or the canals. So one day, one of the officials that was looking after the highway told him that a horse merchant would come to the city and the horse merchant would bring with him 500 horses. So if you have contacts for 500 grass suppliers and there are 500 horses coming, that's a deal waiting to happen. So that's what he did. He went to the grass cutters. He said to bring an extra bundle of grass because they owed him a favor, right? Then when the horses came, he piled up the 1,000 bundles of grass. Okay, so this grass, he got it for free. Okay, why? Because the grass cutters were owed him a favor, so to speak. They wanted to do a favor for him out of gratitude for the free water that they had received. Okay, and water probably didn't cost him anything. Maybe the pot cost him some money, but not the water. Anyway, so that's how you know he's smart. So the horse merchant couldn't find proper food for his horses, but because when he came to the city, he saw the piles of grass stacked up high, so he knew there was grass around. So he paid. He was in no position to bargain. I think that's what the story is implying. Why? Because he searched the city for proper food for his horses and he couldn't find any. So he gave 1,000 coins to the talented pupil and took away the 1,000 bundles of grass. And a few days later, okay, now it was first was the highway official, now it's the official manning the waterway. Said, "Oh, there's a huge cargo boat that has arrived and is mod, how you pronounce it? Moored. Is it mod? How do you pronounce that word? Can someone help me? It's not mood, right?
It is
Yes,
more.
Levan.
It is more.
Mod. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. So he said, okay, this is another opportunity to make money. So what did he do? He hired a fully furnished chariot for 8 coins of silver. Okay. Why? Because he wanted to put on a good impression. He wanted people to think that he was a successful businessman. It's like hiring a Rolls Royce, something like that, or a Mercedes. So he went there, and because of the image that he portrayed, he was able to give a ring to the captain of the boat as a down payment to secure. It's like he said, "I'm going to buy you all the things that you have on the boat, and this is my down payment." And the captain trusted him. Why? Because if someone comes in a Rolls Royce or a high-end Mercedes, wouldn't you trust that person, right? Okay, so after he did that, he set up shop. Okay, he literally set up shop. He had a banner, a curtain properly hung, like a signboard. Yeah, I think it was the equivalent of a signboard to show that he was a house of brokerage, a trading house. And then he told his employees, not bad, he has employees at that time, or maybe he quickly hired some people. He said, if any merchants, any business people come to see me, he says, tell me by way of 3 stages. What does that mean? That means any news to reach him has to go to 3 levels. Or it could be 3 people or 3 ways of communicating. Why? Well, because if you are unimportant, people can reach you directly. But if you are important, it's difficult to reach you. That's what he wanted people to feel. Okay. So other merchants, okay, now only hearing the news of the boat. So he made friends with the official. He got the news earlier than anyone else. But other people, other merchants now only knew of the boat coming. So all of them rushed to the port. Why? Because they wanted to trade. And so the employees were already there. And he said, the employees told all the merchants, said, oh, the goods have already been spoken for. They all belong to my boss. And his office is there. Okay. So what happened was this. The 100 merchants all went to see him, assuming he was the great merchant. And so they put on a show. Anyone who wanted to see him, they say, oh, okay, hold on, you have to make an appointment. Okay, call this person and that person. He has to go to three stages, 3 levels, just to put on a show that, oh, this is for them to think, oh, this great merchant must be really great. So what did they do? They had a lot of confidence in him. So they wanted a share in his business because they knew that because he had rights to all the goods on the ship, he was going to make money. So they bought shares in his company. They gave him 1,000 coins to become shareholders. And not only that, they were greedy. So they offered another 1,000 coins to him to buy his share in the company. In other words, the 100 of them wanted to monopolize, and so they wanted to buy him out of his business. So not bad for something that he set up overnight. He suddenly had 200,000 coins. Okay, let me see. I don't know how the math works. Gave him 1,000. Oh, each of them gave him 1,000 coins. So first round, 100,000 coins. Then to buy him out of his own business, so that they could keep all the profits for themselves, another 100,000 coins. Yeah. Okay. So this newly minted millionaire knew how to be grateful. He knew that the source of all of it came from the dead rat and what he heard from the person named Chula Seti, which was the Buddha in his past life. So he took 100,000 coins and he wanted to offer it to Chula Seti. Imagine. he was so filled with gratitude that he was going to give half his fortune away to the person who made it all possible. So he went to the merchant and explained how from the dead rat, he was able to blossom, the business blossom, or his fortune rather blossom. So Chola Seti recognized how smart this young man was. So he offered his daughter in marriage to the man. And then when he passed away, he took over his father-in-law's business. Yeah. So the Buddha explained what happened, and then he said that a wise man, by putting fuel into an inconsiderably small fire and making efforts to blow repeatedly and continuously, that means you work hard, turns it into a big mass of fire. So the wise man, who is far-sighted as well as retrospective, who is prudent and reflective, can create a great wealth out of a small and insignificant investment. Okay. And then let me see. Okay. So now we come back to Dhammapada. We started with this. All right. If you remember, this is the verse that we started with. So the Buddha explains, he says, one of the verse is by vigilance, which equates to vigor and effort. So the Buddha, the point of all these teachings is not to be vigorous in making money. Okay. No, that was the past life story. He says, earnestness means ever-present mindfulness. That means you're aware of thoughts of greed, anger, and ignorance, and you want to convert them into pure thoughts. You want to foster the right effort in a noble eightfold path is defined as unwholesome thoughts. You want to create conditions that will not give rise to unwholesome thoughts. And if there are any unwholesome thoughts that are present, you want to eliminate the unwholesome thoughts. And then you want to create conditions that will create wholesome thoughts. And for any wholesome thoughts that have arisen, you want to maintain wholesome thoughts. Okay, so that's number one and number two. And number three, by restraint, which equates with the precepts. That's how you can suppress or create conditions that don't give rise to unwholesome thoughts. And number four, control, which equates with the control of the sense faculties. Shufu is always saying, look within, don't be a camera, don't go spotting other people's mistakes. Because the very things that you complain to people, the very things that you complain about other people, actually, you do it worse. People around you, you see, the people who complain the most about other people is very funny. If you ever know anyone who likes to complain about other people, who points out the faults of other people in conversations, if you observe them, you realize that they themselves, exhibit the same fault, but to a greater degree. It's like they're absolutely blind to themselves, but they can see it in others. So don't be like that. So Buddha says, by reason of these four factors, the wise man who is endowed with knowledge of the essence of truth factors is able to make an island of Arhatship, which becomes a refuge for himself in this excessively deep ocean of round of existences, where in safe landing is very hard to come by. Wow, what a mouthful. What the Buddha is trying to say, what the sentence says, is that samsara is the sea of suffering. And ending birth and death is an island that will keep you safe, that will be your refuge. And then the Buddha says, an island of what? Says that verse in the Dhammapada verse, this sentence means that the island or the fourfold currents of mental impurities cannot overflow and destroy, because Arhatship cannot be shattered by the floods of moral defilements. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Do you all want to know what Cudapanthaka looks like? Anyone? Okay, whether you answer yes or no, I'm still going to show it to you. Okay, thank you, Evan. Okay, now, out of the 18 arhats, I'm a bit confused because sometimes Cudapanthaka is pictured holding a staff. All right, and the staff. Okay, if I was a betting man, I would bet that it was the person on the right, the statue on the right. This is Snow Mountain in Oregon, where Dharma Master Lai is. The one on the right is probably Cudapanthaka. Yeah. But if you look up online, sometimes he's pictured holding the ring staff, which is on the left. Yeah, sometimes. So that's why I'm a bit confused. If anyone knows, please let me know. Okay, but that's why I'm sharing both. But if I were to bet, it would be the one on the right. Okay, so Cudapanthaka became renowned for his understanding of all the Dharma of the Buddha, as well as for his supernormal powers, his spiritual powers, his samadhi, and the fact that he can create 1,000 transformation bodies. Usually, other monks, arhats, could maybe produce a few transformation bodies, but never to like in the hundreds or the thousands. Yeah. Also, sometimes if you see statues or paintings of the 18 arhats, he might be depicted holding a fan. Yeah. Or in among very old trees, withered trees. Yeah. Sometimes there are different forms of the 16 or the 18 arhats. Okay. Now, does anyone have anything you want to bring up? Any questions? So imagine here is someone who even his own brother had to dismiss him. They all gave up on him, but not the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha knew exactly what to do, and not just teach, but to bring him all the way to arhatship. Yeah, so the Buddha is known as the teacher of gods and humans. Okay, all right. If there's not, while I wait for there's any response, if anyone has anything to bring up, let me get the slide. Okay, today we shall do the Abhayagiri transference. Okay, all right, I'm going to put my palms together. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease and all harmful states of mind. Until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dharma. The solitary Buddha is my noble Lord. The Sangha is my supreme support. To the supreme power of all this, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Okay, 3 bows to the Buddha. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone, Amitabha, and we'll see you all next week.
Amitabha, thank you.
Thank you, Dhamma Master.